Hey everyone, I don't know about you, but I really like organization. There's just something about maximizing the space that you have and finding a spot for every last little thing that is just very satisfying to me. Some of this is down to just, good old fashioned personality flaws, but there's also some real world constraints that are driving this fixation. I don't have a ton of room in my office, and I also don't have a lot of furniture, so every time I have a specific place to put things, I like to utilize it to the maximum. Lately, a prime target of this fixation has been fasteners and other small hardware, and when it comes to this stuff, it's really important that you have like either a mental or a literal visual representation of all the parts that you have, because whether or not you have a part might determine how you solve a design problem. So it is actually a pretty important part of at least my process. For a long time, I would get these like hardware assortment kits in these plastic bins, and I would just let those bins stack up. And on some level, this felt organized. But I think in reality it was more like a quasi-organized state where, yes, I had all these parts, and yes, they were all labeled and kept separate from each other, but I never could get a good look of all the parts that I had. And even if I had a specific part in mind that I wanted to go get, sorting through all of those bins and getting to that part was a bit of a mess. So I decided I wanted to consolidate all of these parts bins into a single place so that everything was more findable. So what I did was I bought these drawers, and they came with these pre-configured inserts that were fixed in place, and the sizes of the bins and the layout just wasn't quite right for what I needed. And given that most of us have in our homes basically like a plastic bin factory in the form of 3D printers, you can probably guess where this is going. I ended up printing some bins, but probably not the bins that you would think of right away. Under these circumstances, I think most people would go for a solution like Gridfinity, and for good reason. Gridfinity offers a smaller minimum compartment size. It's super extendable. There's tons of community-made modifications, has a benevolent cyborg overlord, and really what's not to love. I'll tell you what's not to love. Gridfinity, what makes it so useful and what makes it so extendable and universally compatible is it's all based on a fixed base unit size of 42 by 42 millimeters for the smallest bin. This is a really useful feature if you're not working within a container, or if your container happens to be a perfect multiple of 42. But if it's not, and if it's off by even 1 millimeter, you're in big trouble. And for my case, Gridfinity fills my container in a 7 by 5 grid that leaves 15 square centimeters or so of just empty space. And for me, I can just like picture the number of screws that could go there, and it kind of makes me uneasy. So to make sure I'm using every square millimeter of space within my container, I took a slightly different approach where rather than filling the container with a grid of bins that is based on a fixed unit, the grid within my container is based on the container size itself. So with this system, I can basically use 100% of the space in this container, but I can also extend the bins to fit any container that I come across and get 100% utilization out of that. So let me show you what I mean by that. So yeah, the idea of subdividing this space down and then generating bins based off of those subdivisions is a pretty simple idea. But if you dig in a little deeper, it's still really simple. But I had this idea going in, like, wouldn't it be cool if you could design a single bin, fill a container with variations on that bin, and then adapt that to any box or container or drawer that you want to organize. So for this drawer, which is intended for my M2 and M3 hardware, I want the bin to be as small as possible while still allowing to fit my index finger so I can fish out parts. So that sweet spot ends up being 1/12 of the overall container size. So 1/12 ends up being kind of like the base fraction for all the bins in this container. Then any size variations that are a multiple of this base unit will fit perfectly into a row. So I can fill the row with more of these 1/12s, or I can add in a 2/12 or a 1/6, or a 1/4, or a 1/3, or something larger like this, which is a 1/2, 6/12s, but you could go all the way up to like 8/12s or even 12/12s, just depending on what your printer will fit. And with these variations, you have a lot of storage options, but also because they're all that multiple of 12, There's a lot of configurations where these bins will fit neatly into a row and fill it to 100% capacity. And a similar process goes into just defining how many rows you want over the depth of the bin. So for this drawer, 4 rows seems appropriate and gives you a lot of flexibility to rearrange. The final version of the M2 and M3 hardware drawer ends up looking like this. It's almost all made up of the smallest base unit, those 1/12 bins, except for like an odd junk bin that's just full of random screws. And this is a big improvement over like the stock bins that came with these drawers, just because the minimum bin size is so much smaller and I can fit a much wider variety of parts in here. So that's really nice, though it is a little bit homogeneous just because every bin is the same size almost. But where I think the system really starts to shine is with drawers like this, which is my open builds drawer. And there's just a lot more variety here. So in this back row, I have all of the screws ranging from 6mm all the way up to 40 to 60, the longer screws. But then all the other parts are just like a wide variety of sizes. So there's a wide variety of bin sizes to accommodate that. I have one of the half-width ones just for different lengths of these spacers that are just all in one bin right now because I kind of need to optimize this a little bit more. There's one bin in here that spans 2 rows deep. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And there's a similar thing going on with this random electronics drawer, which is just kind of like anarchy. There's all kinds of stuff in here. It's even kind of becoming like a junk drawer full of random components. So I'm kind of hitting the limit of these drawers. I probably need to get some more because there's some like category impurities here. What I think is cool about this is I didn't develop the system specifically for these drawers. I wanted to have a system for any box or any container that I came across. So the first implementation of that is with this really nice red box where I wanted to keep my taps and other specialty drill bits. So going back into the Fusion 360 file, everything right now is based on the larger parts bins, but all I need to do is update the overall dimensions, and all of the bin sizes are going to update based on the new dimensions. So for the drill bit storage, it ends up looking like this, where I'm storing longer items, so I only need 1 row deep, and I only need a couple of columns total. So I have a kind of a square bin for my tap handle and storing a couple of larger tools. And then the drill bit shaped bins are for storing, you guessed it, drill bits. The minimum bin size probably could be a little bit smaller. You can see there's like a lot of unused space in here, but I'm not too desperate for space with this box right now. So it's all a little bit overcomplicated, but I really like the flexibility and just the option to basically take any container that I come across and fill it with bins and have like an organization system with that container. I also just, for some reason, like the idea of taking like the simple idea of storage bins and scaling it up to its logical extreme. And it's just kind of fun to do that, I think. And though I don't have the furniture to do this right now, I think it would be really cool to someday get like a dresser or like a set of drawers where I can scale these bins up a little bit more and fill the whole thing with bins based off of this same system. I think that'd be really cool. Oh, the bins themselves are pretty cool too. The main feature of them is they have this recessed area right here, which kind of plays triple duty. Number one, it makes room for internal hinges. If you have a box that is made out of like sheet metal, they often have internal hinges, and this clears those hinges in a lot of cases. It also provides a lip for easy removal from the box and a nice flat surface for labeling. This labeling system is actually one of the surprise highlights of this project. I'm using this gaffer tape, and I have it in a couple different colors, which lets me use the colors in the labeling system. So in this bin, all of my M3 parts are labeled in pink, all the M2 are in green, and in every other drawer, all the different sizes have a specific color. And then the outside of the drawer is labeled with that color too. So basically, if I'm looking for an M3 screw, I can find the drawer labeled M3, note that it's pink, and then when I open up the bin, I'm already kind of like primed and pre-filtering out anything that is in pink. And I know that, okay, everything I need to look at is right here, and I can just find the length of the M3 screw and the head style of the M3 screw that I'm looking for. It's kind of a small thing, but it actually helps a little bit just to like filter out some noise. There are some downsides to the system. So because the bins are so tailored to their specific container, there's not a lot of like cross compatibility between bins. So I wouldn't want to take a bin out of here and like store it in the drawer long term. It just doesn't fit with that system very well. So the bins are kind of exclusive to their own containers. Basically with this project, you're going to be trading off extendability and universal compatibility for maximum container utilization. So you kind of have to be okay with that trade-off for this. One big takeaway I have coming out of this project is I think I'm done using label makers like this. They're really good at making legible text, but they're also really effective at sucking the fun and personality out of basically anything that you stick those labels to. And I'm really loving this like colorful approach with handwritten labels. So I plan on slowly phasing out all of the labels I've printed using this, and I'm probably going to rely on this a lot less going forward. But yeah, these are my bins. I really like them. I'm looking forward to expanding them to even more containers over time and just seeing how the system grows. I hope this gives you some ideas for how you can come up with your own system, or if you want to, you can just use mine using the Fusion 360 file on my Patreon page. Though you can pretty easily replicate this system just using some basic mathematical thinking. But to do that, you'd need a fun and easy way to brush up on your mathematical thinking skills. This video is sponsored by Brilliant. Brilliant helps you become a better thinker and problem solver with thousands of visual interactive lessons in math, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. The lessons are short and engaging, which makes it really easy to both build a daily habit and turn that daily habit into real-world applicable knowledge. Lessons on Brilliant are structured around problem solving and critical thinking. So in addition to acquiring new knowledge in these subjects, you're becoming a better thinker overall. If you've got a math-centric project coming up, say generating a responsive bin system for storing small parts, consider brushing up on your math skills with courses in solving equations, visual algebra, all the way up to calculus. So build your own daily learning habit with Brilliant for free for 30 days by visiting brilliant.org/Stephen Bennett or visiting the link in the description or the QR code on screen. There you'll also get 20% off a premium annual subscription. Thanks, Brilliant. Thank you for listening to me talk about my bins. The next video should be the final build log in the OpenTask Lite series, so I hope to see you there. Thank you so much to my amazing patrons who help make videos like this possible and give me lots of moral support. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It really does make a huge difference. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.